everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny.
And I'm Giacomo.
And this is episode 101. Well, hey everybody, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. How exciting is this? We're coming into a new year, and I might be in the minority of fitness professionals, but I freaking love the new year. And I love New Year's goals. And I love all of that stuff.
This is striking me as a bit confusing. You can't see my face, but I'm giving a look at it because from what I know of you, you're kind of hard up on don't wait for the new year to set the New Year's goal. Am I right?
It's only a New Year's goal at New Year's. But yeah, in general, definitely start your stuff whenever you want to start your stuff. I don't care. But something about the new year is very inspiring to a lot of people. It's a great time to look back at the previous year, at what you did well, what you need to work on, what do you want to accomplish in the coming year. It's just a great time to sort of assess things. And I am a fan of anything that motivates people. I don't care what it is. So I know a lot of people think New Year's resolutioners are the worst, but I am one of them myself. I friggin' love it.
Well, it brings out the best in you, essentially, because if you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you are the type of person who is looking to better yourself, and that requires you to put the work in on yourself. And it's not just about getting into the process and reflecting what you have done. It's finding out where your goalpost is at, setting new goals, et cetera, et cetera. So, and yeah, to Danny's point, this is a real nice time of the year. In some ways, I feel like it's challenging because you're kind of over it after the end of the year, right? Everything's coming down on you. Expectations around family. What did you do during the year? Blah, blah, blah. The end of the year gets busy is what I'm trying to say. So here you are, the end of the year, it's super busy, and yet you're expected to think about what you could do into the new year. So it's a little stressful, but what I feel like Danny and I can do for you over here is help you simplify your process and get more into what you can do to ease your way into 2023 and just goal set without making it be too stressful of a process.
Well, yeah, I disagree, actually. What I find is that so many people are so kind of beat down by the end of the year by all of the end of year social pressures, the food, the crazy schedules, everything. They are super ready to get back to a routine, to start moving forward, to stop just feeling so chaotic. They just don't want to feel that way anymore. So it all kind of compounds into what I think is, or can be, a perfect storm of making some really cool progress towards some really great things. That said, New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals notoriously fail. And I think that's because people don't plan them very well. It's almost more like a wish list than, this is my plan to do this list. And that is one of the things I really like to help people with. So actually, this is coming out right at the beginning of the year. We are having a live free goal setting workshop on Tuesday, January 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We will leave the sign-up page so you can register for a spot for that in the show notes here if you would love to come. That would be great. And then that is a totally free workshop, open to everybody. And then we will be doing an even more specific goal-setting workshop for our Muscles by Brussels members in the week following that, where it's not so much me talking to you about goal setting as much as us all sitting down with a pen and paper and actually categorizing our goals, writing out the goals for the year, breaking those goals down into steps so that you actually have a plan. If you want in on that, maybe become a Muscles by Brussels member. I'm just saying. It's going to be a really great workshop.
Yeah, and not to brag about it, but I feel like we got a pretty cool community and everyone is there to support one another. So not only do you get a chance to know exactly what you need to do to set your goals in a group atmosphere, you also get to bounce off of everyone else's energy.
And since you guys are listening to this, I will let you in on it. There is a really good deal at the end of the free goal setting workshop to sign up for Muscles by Brussels. So if you want to do that, that would probably be a good time to cash in on that particular deal that we will talk about more at the end of that workshop. But yeah, go ahead and register. And I really, really look forward to seeing you guys there. Have you guys heard of the Vegan Cruise? If not, we want to tell you about it because we are so excited to be presenters on the 2023 cruise, and we would love to see you guys there. So the Vegan Cruise is exactly what it sounds like and so much more. It's a cruise from March 17th to March 24th that leaves from Miami and will be visiting Belize, Honduras, Costa Maya, and the Bahamas on the beautiful MSC Divinia. It is so cool to wake up in a new country every day of the trip, seriously. But as if that wasn't enough, one of the biggest drawbacks of most cruises is that there's nothing vegan to eat. I had a client actually go on a cruise recently, and she said she was shocked at how little she could eat, and for that price, it just was not worth it for her. But that's not a problem on this cruise because all 3 meals are fully catered, vegan, and made by gourmet chefs. You will never be hungry. There are also get-togethers like ice cream socials and pizza parties out by the pool. Very fun. And to top all of that off, the cruise is absolutely loaded with some of the biggest leaders in the vegan movement giving lectures, presentations, and classes. Folks like Dr. Greger, Dr. Barnard, Dr. Clapper, Robert Cheek, Juliana Hever, and so many more, and of course, us. We will be hosting exercise classes and giving presentations on plant-based fitness. And of course, we would very much love to spend time with any of our listeners who come out. So if you're interested, click the link in the show notes to book your spot because it always sells out, and mention vegan proteins when you book and you'll get a $50 onboarding credit at the vegan bookstore. We look forward to vacationing with you guys. So what are we talking about today, Giacomo?
Well, speaking about goals, we are going to talk about Veganuary, which is the goal of going vegan for a full month.
So what Veganuary is it's exactly what it sounds like. You can go to veganuary.com and take the pledge to be vegan for the entire month of January. I don't actually know when this started, but I feel like it's existed for at least like 15 years.
That long, huh?
I mean, I think 15 years ago was like the first time I heard about it, but yeah, it's a really cool pledge. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people sign up for it every year, and I think that's really fantastic because for a lot of people, 30 days is something they feel like they can commit to, and the hope is, of course, by the end of 30 days, they realize it's not nearly as hard as they thought it was going to be. They can actually do this for much longer than that, and, hopefully they come away having learned something. Hopefully they feel better. All of that stuff. So if you're interested in formally taking the pledge, it's veganuary.com. But we are going to talk about some advice to help somebody be as successful as possible at that. And if you're already vegan, remember these tips because when you're vegan, people are constantly asking you for tips on how to be vegan and do it better, right?
Yeah, honestly, I think that is one of the top questions we get from people who are already vegan. Like, how do I talk to non-vegans who are approaching me unprompted? It's an uncomfortable place to be because it's like you don't even necessarily want to lead by example sometimes. You're just trying to live your life. You're not in the mood for a conversation, but it's coming at you, right? Maybe you're the silent, quiet type, or you're just too busy and you don't even bother. But it's like, someone's there and they want to make a change. And like, obviously, that someone else going vegan is going to create less harm in the world, right? So how could you not respond? So for that reason alone, in and of itself, it's helpful to be armed with this kind of knowledge as far as like tips on what to do.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I would want to talk about before we dive into the actual advice is like what not to do. What not to do to try to be vegan for a month, and absolutely how not to talk to other people about how to do it. The point of Veganuary or committing to be vegan for 30 days or 60 days or whatever, it is not to be necessarily the healthiest human being that ever walked the planet. For a lot of people, just omitting animal products from their life is challenge enough without trying to do it while being zero added sugars, oil-free, soy-free, gluten-free, sugar-free, packaged food-free, like trying to do all of, and each one of those has their potential merits depending on the person. Trying to do them all at once, like you're going to fail. You're absolutely going to fail. So if you're the one trying to do it, just try to not ingest animal products for 30 days and don't don't try to make it harder on yourself than that to start. If you get that under your belt and you feel really good about that, and then you want to move towards like eating more whole foods, awesome, cool. That is a bridge to cross when you get to it. But if someone is coming to you for advice and, they're a meat and potatoes kind of guy and you're talking to them about how, oh, well, I have a green smoothie for breakfast and I have a giant salad for lunch and then I meditate in the sun for an hour and a half in the afternoon. Like, they're not going to do that. You're not helping them. You're not helping that person.
You got to think back on when you were in your earlier years or months getting into your fitness routine. It did not look anywhere next to near like what it is now. And I think back to myself, right? It's been 25 plus years, 13 years in a row of being fit. And what I did 8 years ago, hell, what I did 8 months ago that I do well routine-wise now, I was not doing back then. And the same likely holds true for you. So you meet people where you're at. Meet people where they are at.
Yes.
Bottom line.
Meet people where they are at. And I think that's a really interesting concept about like, oh, think back to the beginning of your journey. I don't know if I would agree with that because I think most people at the beginning of their journey, they screw this up. Like I screwed it up. You've screwed it up, where we start out trying to do everything at once. And maybe you could do it for like 2, 3, 4 days or something, and then you can't maintain it. And then you're like, oh, I suck at this. I failed. Done. And then you fall off for months. And then you're like, I'm going to try that thing again. And then you try to do it all out again. And, might be 15, 20 years later, and now you're doing all those things you wanted to do back then, but you couldn't do them all at once back then. But you tried and you failed over and over. And I don't mean you, Giacomo. I mean like most of us. I know I did. So with the Veganuary, in and of itself, for a lot of people, eliminating all animal products is going to be a challenge. This isn't like, oh, we're just going to swap out our dairy milk for oat milk for the month. That is a very tiny habit that is pretty easy to swap out, or just cutting beef out of your diet. Like, that's not too bad. For many Americans, and not even Americans, for many people living in the Western world, cutting out all animal products is going to be a big enough challenge without trying to become a health god at the same time. So, just wanted to put that out there at the start. Cool. Anything you want to add?
No, not to that particular point, but I do want to start getting into actual ideas on how to help someone deconstruct how they're currently eating so that they can make some simple decisions to go 100% for a full month. Because it's not about, like Danny said, it's not about I'm doing oat milk instead of
Cow milk.
Cow milk. I love how we call it cow milk because like a non-vegan does not call it cow milk.
I know.
They just call it milk and dairy and they start to question. And I digress. Anyway, point is it's like, no, we're not looking for like just swap this and swap that and do the best you can. No, we're looking to go straight up 30 days. Mm-hmm. So there are going to be things that someone's having on a daily basis that is not ideal for them. But they're also going to wind up gravitating towards better decisions.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just thought of something. I'm talking about making that one little dairy swap and how easy it is. And like, that's how you build habits. And it is how you build habits, these tiny little steps for some people. For some people, that progress will be so slow that it's not motivating. So I do think everybody kind of has their own sweet spot of how much change needs to happen at once in order to stay committed. So, I think this is a big challenge for a lot of people, but I don't think it's such a huge challenge that it will unravel on itself. And I'm obviously biased because I've been vegan for 20 years. So to me, this seems very easy, but for a lot of people, it will not be very easy. So
biggest hurdles, Danny. Let's start with that.
Oh, the biggest hurdles actually I don't really cover in my list of topics here. The biggest hurdles for being vegan are the same biggest hurdles as having a fitness goal in general. It's the same across the board. It's social events. Period. Full stop. The end. Social events, parties, vacations, holidays, dinners with family, drinks out with friends. Like, those are the times where you really are going to come up against some struggle. I guess I kind of have some tips for that towards the very end, but I would not start with the hardest thing first.
No, huh?
Yeah, no.
I think the biggest struggle, because that's kind of where I want to start as opposed to all the tips. The social thing is big, but also just feeling confident that you're going to be satiated and enjoying what you eat, right? Because it's like anything else, you got to give it time to adapt and get used to eating differently, even if the food, obviously, again, bias here, is arguably tastes better, digests better, it's more versatile, believe it or not. People think of veganism as an exclusionary lifestyle and diet, but if you ask me, it forces you to think outside the box and branch out and try all kinds of different foods. I think it's the exact opposite. You wind up exploring. But when you don't have your creature comforts and you don't know what you're normally eating, it can be a little confusing. So I think this is where the tips come in, like what are good swaps for dinner? What are good swaps for lunch? I think those are the two biggest meals.
Yeah, and we do have an episode, I don't even think it's that far back, but we have an episode of like mistakes people make when they first go vegan, and that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're talking about right now. That's a good episode also, I think, if that is something that you're interested in.
Hey listeners, we hope you've been enjoying this episode and we appreciate your love of all things vegan fitness. For those of you who want even more support on your vegan fitness journey, check out our Muscles by Brussels community and become a member. By joining the team, you are one of our exclusive VIPs. As a member, you'll find over 200 macro-friendly, high-protein recipes that can meet any of your meal planning needs. You'll also receive training programs that update monthly. This training has progressive overload built into it, so you can be sure if you're following the program, you are making progress. All of this and more is located inside our Vegan Proteins members only app. As a Muscles by Brussels member, you'll unlock bonus courses, challenges, and more every month. You'll also be invited to our live Zoom video calls, which happen 2 times a month, and are absolute gold to those who show up. And if you can't make the calls, don't worry, you have the opportunity to email us whenever you want. You'll receive a video response to all of your questions from one of the coaches here at Vegan Proteins every time you message us. Members also receive 40% off many of our other services. And of course, our private community of like-minded individuals is like no other. Best of all, you can try this membership out for a full month at no cost to you with this special offer for our listeners only, because we appreciate and want to fully support you. Use the link in our show notes to sign up for your free trial today. We hope to see you on our next live coaching call.
My first tip is that everything is going to come down to planning. If this is something that you're planning on doing, and I know this is probably coming out just after the 1st, but I would say like you don't want to wake up on January 1st and be like, what am I going to have today? Like before you even start this challenge, and you don't have to start it on January 1st. It's just called Veganuary. You can do the 30 days whenever. Sit down and write out a list of simple, easy breakfasts, lunches, and dinners that are plant-based. And I have some suggestions here for you actually that are, super, super simple. So avocado or hummus toast for breakfast. Very easy. You sprinkle some seeds on it. That's delicious.
Oats.
Oatmeal with all the fixings. Nuts, seeds, fruit, dried fruit, anything like that. Berries, whatever. Delicious. And filling, depending on how much of it you have. And don't be afraid to have large-ish portions if you're new to eating plant-based. Because a lot of this food is not as calorie dense as animal-based foods. So you need to eat more of it. Cereal. Most boxed cereals, not all, so check those labels to make sure there's no dairy in them or what have you, but most boxed cereals are vegan. So get that, throw some non-dairy yogurt on it, some sliced up bananas, or just have it with like some oat milk or soy milk, which is, I know it's a dying thing, but soy milk will forever be my favorite. That's a very simple breakfast, and you can go really crazy fun with the fun sugary cereals or whatever, or you can go like straight up fiber one or whatever. So it doesn't matter, but most of that aisle is vegan. So that's a good one. Tofu scramble. with like some vegan sausage and vegan bacon or whatever. If you like the Grand Slam style breakfast, you can do it vegan.
You can buy your own scrambles. Mm-hmm. You can make your own scrambles. Mm-hmm. You got stuff to work with. I am infatuated with Hodo, Hodo, which you can now find pretty much everywhere. You can definitely find it at Target. They make a pre-made scramble, or you could just take the water out of a block of tofu and just press into the block of tofu with the fork, and then just throw some seasonings in it, and you're good. And
and cook it. Don't forget the cook it part.
Yay, probably sulfur salt. The magic ingredients are sulfur salt and turmeric. Turmeric will give it color. The sulfur salt will give it that eggy-like flavor, or black salt, I should say. Excuse me. Black salt, turmeric, and then just season it up however you'd like it, and put whatever you want in it.
But that's just a short list of some breakfast ideas. Like literally, pull out a notebook, jot down some breakfast, lunch, dinner ideas. So some lunch and dinner ideas, I put them in different categories, but like, do people really eat stuff that's that different for lunch and dinner? Like, I don't know. I don't. But I struggle, guys. I struggle with a lunch that is like not physically satisfying to me. That's easy. But like emotionally satisfying. Like I have yet to find a lunch that really hits the spot for me.
I have not heard you mention I'm good until it's my post-workout meal. My post-workout meal never satisfies me. They have to repeat it like 100 times. I'm like, Danny, I'm tired of hearing me. And she gives me the look. The look is like this is not supportive. And I give her the look like, Danny, you said it 100 times. We'll see, because you're starting a cut next year, right?
Well, as of this coming out, it'll be now. But yes.
But what would you say is like, I know there's no such thing as like feeling satiated when you're ravenous and you just finished working out, but what do you feel like some safe tips to have a nice satiating lunch? Anything?
I'm the worst person to ask. I'm the worst person to ask because I hate lunch. Like I would rather have breakfast twice and then dinner. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Anyway, my lunch and dinner list of foods that you could have that are just very simple. You know, these are not super fancy. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Vegan BLT. It's just a regular BLT, but use vegan bacon and vegan mayo. Super simple. Pasta salad. Easy peasy, right? Pasta, veggies, Italian vinaigrette. Easy. Sushi. So any sushi restaurant that you like, I guarantee you they have vegetable sushi. Avocado, cucumber, sweet potato, asparagus, inari. Like you can find, if you love sushi, which I never had sushi before I was vegan, but boy, do I love it now. You can find it vegan.
Mediterranean's pretty safe to order out too. You can get some like hummus or baba ganoush or falafel. And Mediterranean's easy to find pretty much everywhere. I use like where we live as the way to gauge, because there is like you get pizza, Chinese, or Mediterranean.
Well, you're being generous with the pizza because
I am.
There's no vegan cheese on it. So it's just bread and sauce and vegetables, which is fine. But, you know, major metropolitan area, we are not. So
sushi and hummus and whatever goes along with hummus at Mediterranean, those are like safe options that you could find pretty much anywhere.
Tacos or burritos made with refried beans, brown rice, salsa, lettuce, tomato, pickled jalapenos, all of that stuff. Branch out, maybe try some vegan shreds, vegan cheddar shreds, some vegan sour cream. Talk more about that in a little bit. Vegetarian chili is delicious and filling and hearty.
Easy to come by too. You can find vegetarian chili pretty much anywhere.
Pizza with vegan cheese, like we were just talking about. You know, depending on where you live, you might be able to just order this somewhere. But if you can't, making pizza at home with some Violife mozzarella shreds on it, very, very good. Curries, Indian curries, Thai curries, you can make them at home. You can go out to eat. Things to look for, you want to make sure that they're not made with like milk or cream. Sometimes there's cream in them. So you just want to ask, hey, does this have cream in it? And they say yes or no. You know, sometimes they'll do it with coconut milk instead of cream. And then also in Thai restaurants, you want to avoid fish sauce.
There are some staple Indian dishes that you don't have to ask for without cheese that are almost always vegan. Aloo gobi. What are our go-tos? Aloo gobi and...
You do still have to ask. You definitely have to ask because they use a lot of ghee and butter in their cooking, so you would want to ask about that too. But they are usually made with oil.
But they're not
butter.
cheese-based dishes. Like they're not like a paneer or something like that, or a curry where like there's a decent likelihood there's yogurt in it. They're a little bit safer to choose from. And the chickpea dishes. What is it? The shala
Chana masala.
Thank you. I get things confused sometimes. I'm getting old. Chana masala and aloo gobi. Those are our go-tos. And some dishes are just easier to come by than others because they're just not as heavy based when it comes to like cheese and yogurt and whatnot.
And most Indian restaurants for sure are going to be at least familiar with what vegan is, depending on where you live. A lot of vegan restaurants will put the little V symbol on their menu next to the things that are already vegan as is.
Well, straight up, me personally, going on a personal level, like I used to go into an Indian restaurant being a little worried because dairy is sacred in a spiritual sense when it comes to culture for Indians. And what I learned time and time again is they're actually very accommodating when you ask for things to be dairy free. They're not insulted and they're like happy to accommodate you actually. So going out for Indian can actually be quite fun when you're like, hey, dairy free, vegan, please, and they'll hook you up.
Stir fries was the last big thing I had on my list. So veggie stir fries, you could put tofu in them, you could put seitan in them, you could put tempeh in them, you could put some vegan like chicken strips in them. Whatever, very, very simple dinner, serve it over rice, voila, the end. Is this like the healthiest menu I've ever seen in my life? No, no, it's not. But if you do pick from this list, and add your own stuff as well, if you pick from this list, you're not going to be hungry at the end of the day, depending on how much you have. It's not like this is a list of salads and green smoothies where you could end the day and feel like famished. If you have avocado toast for breakfast, a burrito for lunch, and a curry for dinner, you're not going to be hungry. And I think that's a really important part of succeeding at this challenge.
I will say that some of the advantages are that vegan meals tend to be more voluminous, more nutrient dense, and for other reasons as well. Like they're more fibrous. You're likely to be better hydrated because plant-based foods are just normally a little more hydrating than non-plant-based foods. So there's a lot of advantages to making these switches, even without thinking about your health at all.
Right. My next tip is to look for accidentally vegan foods. I think that when people decide to make the switch to go vegan, for whatever reason, there is that sort of scarcity mindset happening in their brain where it's like, oh no, I can never have blah, 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 blah again. And it's not a great headspace to be in. And I understand why people think that, but there are so many things people think are not vegan that are vegan. And in my early vegan days, I would be straight up goddamn giddy to find out that something I thought I wasn't going to be able to have again actually was vegan by accident. And to this day, if I find something where I'm like, holy crap, it's vegan. I didn't expect that at all. I'm still happy about it. And generally speaking, foods that are accidentally vegan they do not fall in the health food category, I would say. So these are not things like past this. You don't want to build your diet around accidentally vegan foods. So, some examples that immediately come to mind when you think accidentally vegan foods are Oreos or the purple Doritos. You know what I'm talking about? The Doritos that come in the purple bag.
Chili lime or something like that.
Chili something.
Whatever.
Anyway, those are vegan. Pop-Tarts that don't have the frosting on them. Ooh, they're vegan. Now, nobody said, let's make a vegan Pop-Tart flavor. No, it just happens to be vegan. But, you wouldn't want to build a diet around Doritos and Pop-Tarts and Oreos. But there's a ton of stuff that you can find that it's just, like, exciting and almost kind of, like, comforting and relieving to know, like, if I ever wanted apple pie is a great example. If I ever wanted apple pie, did you know that if you walk into most grocery stores, in the most mainstream grocery stores in the United States and go over to the little bakery section, most of the apple pies, blueberry pies, cherry pies, like most of the fruit pies are accidentally vegan. Like always check because you never know, but that sort of thing can just make you feel like a little bit more normal, a little bit more like you fit in, a little bit more like if you have to go to a Christmas party at your work, for example, you can bring a store-bought apple pie and nobody's going to look twice at it. Nobody's going to pick at you. Nobody's going to make fun of you for it, as opposed to if you bring something else, which, again, been vegan for 20 years. I don't give a crap if somebody makes fun of me for something that I bring at this point. But once upon a time, that was not the case. And it was always nice to be able to participate in something. So looking for those accidentally vegan foods, I think, it's kind of fun.
I'm trying to think of like what kind of snacks people normally. It's been so long. I can't imagine myself being a non-vegan going into a store and being like, ooh, these are snacks, and now I'm a vegan, and ooh, these are snacks that I can't have anymore, or at least I'm scared I can't have anymore because I'm going vegan for a month. I'm kind of drawing a blank here, but a lot of what Danny mentioned is very much so true. Baked goods. I simplify. I try to level with people. I'm like, look, flour, oil, and sugar are all vegan. And a lot of things are made with margarine as opposed to straight up butter. So you'd be surprised just how many things are already vegan or really easy to veganize. Like, there's no harm in getting a little creative. We got a ton of free recipes on our YouTube channel, for example, and even more detailed batch of recipes when you're a member and you have a Muscles by Brussels membership. And there's recipes on the Veganuary website too, I would imagine.
I'm sure there are,
you know? So like that's
and
the
they're
thing.
nice and simple too.
Yep. This community is so ridiculously supportive. Yes, I mean, there is some of that like fear of, are you going to get vegan policed and checked and this and that?
Who
And
cares?
exactly.
Like, who cares?
Honestly, I couldn't care less. However, it is important to note that there is a ton of support too, and people are like chomping at the bits to help you out, even complete strangers. So reach out, find community, check out the resources in Veganuary, and obviously we have a pretty tight-knit core community over here. So check us out, go to our website, join us, and we're more than happy to help out.
Well, if you're looking for help from us directly, the Muscles by Brussels Facebook group, it's totally free to join. It's just our community. We post challenges in there every week. That link is always in the show notes. Come hang out with us. But while Giacomo was talking, I was just looking at the accidentally vegan food stuff. Like I Googled it just to see if there was anything weird that popped up that Giacomo was like, I can't even think of anything. So, obviously things like potato chips, a lot of potato chips are vegan. Pillsbury crescent rolls are vegan. Most boxed cake mixes or brownie mixes from like Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker or whatever, those are vegan. Some of the frostings that they make, some of those are vegan. Lots of different candies that are vegan. Like, again, I can't stress this enough. I'm not suggesting that you should not be eating these things very often. In general. But hey, if it helps you get through this month, I am here for it and I'm here for you. So we're not judging you if you're leaning on some, potato chips to get through a month of not eating animal products. I personally still think you're going to feel better. When I went vegan, I was 16 years old. I was already vegetarian. I had already been vegetarian for a long time. And when I went vegan, I didn't know anything about nutrition. Nothing at all. All I ate was like Coca-Cola, French fries, which are vegan, bagels, plain, or with mustard on them. I ate terribly. And I still felt so much better at the end of 3 months. And it was then that I decided like, I feel so much better. I wonder if I actually tried, if that would make a difference. But that was the step for me. So that was a million years ago now. So anyway, my next tip is do not reinvent the wheel. So this kind of goes back to you're not trying to do everything differently than you did it before. If there are meals that you love that have animal foods in them, let's try to make a vegan version of it. Do you love chicken quesadillas? We can make a vegan chicken quesadilla. We can try to find a way to do that. Just as an example, you like spaghetti and meatballs? We can make a vegan spaghetti and meatballs. And it might not be exactly the same, But I think you'd be surprised to see how similar some of these dishes can be. There's very few things that I've had that I don't think can really be replicated with a vegan version of something. Like, it's a short list and it's getting shorter all the time as companies come out with new foods that I'm like, holy crap, that's it. They nailed it.
Everything you pretty much want is out there, is what Danny is saying. And at this point, there's really no reason why you can't have whatever you want that you've enjoyed since childhood. It's like you're not going without. And again, if anything, you're going to wind up seeking out different kinds of foods and different kinds of cuisine. And it's actually a lot of fun.
Giacomo's like one tip ahead of me every time he speaks because he doesn't have a list and he hasn't seen my list, so I just keep wanting to reach across his table and strangle him. Like, stop getting ahead of my list.
You're welcome.
But no, even if you go from, let's say, spaghetti and meatballs, if you go from an animal-based spaghetti and meatballs to a plant-based one, again, is that the healthiest meal you can eat? Not even remotely, but it's better for you than the animal-based one. There's no cholesterol in it. There's going to be way less fat. There's still plenty of protein, lots of flavor. You can make little tiny tweaks to it as well. Upgrade your sauce. Get a whole grain pasta instead of just a white pasta. Like, little teeny changes to it can elevate the nutrition of a dish without destroying it.
Get your family involved. They're going to wind up worrying or thinking twice about what you're doing, judging, asking questions. And it's like, hey, you want in? Not asking you to necessarily do this with me, but this is how you can make something. Because people get, what are the words? People get confused and they're like, well, this is how I normally show my love and how I feed you, whether it's, mom or your favorite aunt or whomever is like, wants to make something for you or wants to go out to eat with you. Hey, this is where we could go out to eat. This is something you can make for me. Let me make something for you. You'd be surprised how you can you could put the message out there into the universe and the universe will talk back to you the way that you want it to, by just being like giving other people options as opposed to being like, I'm doing this on my own. You can seek out support and make it fun.
My next tip is once you're more comfortable with this is how Giacomo got ahead of me. Branch out and try some new things. Try some different types of cuisine you haven't tried before. If you've never had Indian food, which I had not had Indian food until I was vegan for several years, actually, try it. It's totally, totally different if you've never had it. If you've never had Thai food, give that a shot. Ethiopian food, wow, what an experience if you have not done that before. I grew up very, very, very food sheltered, I guess. We ate out a lot, but it was like very standard American or kind of French-leaning cuisine. And all of these different like ethnic foods I did not have for a very long time. So, if you're kind of nervous about trying something new, don't be. Like, just give it a shot. There are so many times I've walked into a restaurant and looked at the menu and just been like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like, I don't know what this is. I have no idea what to expect here at all. Have a little conversation with the server, like, hey, is this plant-based? What's popular here? What do people really love? And give it a shot. And, hopefully you'll find you're going to find some stuff you don't like, but you'll probably find plenty of stuff that you like quite a bit. Definitely recommend that. Tip number 5, have a lot of snacks around. Lots and lots of snacks. Because, as you adjust the amount of food that you're taking in, because again, I think you do need to eat more as a vegan than you do as a non-vegan, just because of the calorie density of the food. Having some snacks around to make sure you don't get too hungry in between meals is very helpful. So you can go super simple: apples, bananas, pieces of fruit, trail mix, nuts, granola bar, protein bar, hummus and cut up vegetables, crackers, whatever. Just make sure you have stuff around in case you get hungry in between meals.
Or you can go to a vegan grocery shop like Vegan Essentials, for example, and they're like an online giant grocery store. They have like pretty much everything. Or you can go to a smaller vegan shop like Rabbit Food Grocery in Austin, Texas, for example. There's lots of other ones. I could rattle off vegan grocery stores. But you can order some cool stuff online, or if you're one of the more fortunate ones to have access to stores that have more than just say a Target, like a Sprouts, for example, oh, forget it. You can go to town and find all kinds of options. But simple vegan snacks, like maybe some bars, for example, like a Kind bar, a nice chewy granola bar, or some jerky, like Unisoy jerky is my personal favorite, and it hits the spot. Stuff like that, or even just something like a bag of pretzels, or you can get a pre-pack of hummus and pretzels just like that on its own, or you can like get some carrots or whatever, baby carrot. This is fruit. Fresh fruit is a snack.
It's
yes.
literally the first thing I said.
There you go. But and it's portable.
Sorry.
It's totally portable, right? An apple is easy to take with you and just munch on the go. So, yeah.
An apple is my favorite snack. It's so filling, so satisfying. Granny Smith, specifically. I want my face to pucker up. Anyway. My next tip is, if you try something that you do not like, do not give up. Try something else. This is a big one. If you try a particular brand of vegan cheese and you're like, that was disgusting, do not go, oh, well, I'm just not even going to bother with vegan cheese. Try another one. If you don't like that, try another one. When I went vegan, there was one brand of vegan cheese. It took me like probably 18 months to even find it anywhere. And then when I finally found it, I tried it, and it was disgusting. It was so nasty. Didn't melt. Tasted like feet. Horrible. And I was just like, well, guess that's it. Guess there's no more cheese for me. And then like 10 years later, maybe not even 10 years later, I don't know, Daiya came out with cheese, and then more and more companies, and now there's more than I can even keep track of. And most of them are very good. Our favorite right now, Violife.
All the way.
For like easy shreds and slices that you can put on like nachos or in sandwiches, Violife. Very good.
Some people still like Daiya better than Violife, though.
Daiya's not bad. I mean, I know a lot of people hated it, but like they were the first and they did a really good job. So, for like fancy pants cheeses, if you really like fancy pants cheeses, Miyoko makes some incredible stuff. Miyoko, Treeline makes some really good ones too.
Follow Your Heart? I don't know if it's fancy pants, but it's kind of in the middle.
Follow Your Heart, I just tried their feta, which I used to love feta way back in the day. And the Violife feta, I could kind of take it or leave it, honestly. The Follow Your Heart feta, I think, is a lot closer. I like it a lot. But just try them. If you try a yogurt you don't like, try another one. If you try a sour cream you don't like, try another one. Or a plant-based meat, try another one. There are so many now. You will find something you like.
And everyone has different preferences. Like, I'll tell you what, you like silk yogurt.
Silk soy yogurt.
Specifically.
In vanilla only. And I buy it by the case.
Whereas I'll prefer maybe a Forager's, or I know you don't like the Daiya yogurt, but I actually quite like it. For some reason, I like the texture of it and the taste of it. So, but the point is, we're not arguing which one tastes better and why. It's just everyone's tastes are different, and there's so much to choose from. So, what someone else might find disgusting, you might find to be like the best thing ever, and vice versa. Try it out. All kinds of cheeses and dairy and stuff to choose from.
Yeah, we're very lucky to live in a time where there's all of this awesome stuff. And, depending on what city you live in, you might have some like local person making some of these things that you can go pick up like freshly made. We can't, but maybe you can.
I will say the oddest thing, and I don't know how true this would hold now if I had never went vegan, so I can't say, it's a hypothetical. What I will tell you, though, there are several cheeses that no matter how hard I tried, I just could not bring myself to like them or have them on the regular. Like, I didn't like sour cream when I wasn't vegan. I wasn't a fan of feta cheese. But the vegan substitutes I actually quite love, like tofu.
That could also just be your taste buds changing as you get older.
Exactly. So who's to say? I don't know.
Because I hated tomato sauce before I went vegan.
I don't know.
Like as a kid, I hated tomato sauce. Now I could literally heat it up and eat it like soup.
Huh.
Love it so much.
Interesting.
I don't know. This is my last tip. There are other tips, but I want to keep it, this list needs an end. My last tip is to download the Happy Cow app. Happy Cow is free. It works all over the world, no matter where you are. If you're like, I don't know what I can eat around here, just open it up. It'll automatically populate where you are, but you can search different cities too. And it'll show you every vegan restaurant around you, every vegetarian restaurant around you, every restaurant that has vegan options, any grocery stores or natural food stores that, have a good vegan selection. Like it will all pop up with the directions, the hours of operation of these places. Other vegans will have reviewed them. So you can see maybe a place used to have an incredible vegan dish, but now they don't carry it anymore. If the latest review is like, hey, I went here for this and they don't have it, So we use it in every single city that we go to. And we have eaten our way through this country through and through pretty sufficiently, I think.
Well, I like when we're just randomly, we don't even know where we are. Like if you're on a road trip, for example, and you just pop up the app, you're like, oh, wow, there's something 3 exits down the road. Like it's a super convenient app to use.
Yeah, and it takes you to places that you wouldn't necessarily end up at so that you don't end up at Chipotle for the millionth time when secretly there's this kick-ass vegan restaurant 2 miles down the road that you never would have even heard of.
Exactly.
It's pretty awesome. So the name of the app is Happy Cow, and I very much recommend it.
So hopefully by now you feel empowered and confident in your conviction to make this choice, and I'm sure it'll still feel a little uncomfortable like any other change. Please do not be afraid and do not hesitate to reach out for indirect and direct support. Indirect meaning go into the community, hang out, make yourself comfortable, and check out all the information that's already there, and maybe even ask some questions. But you could even privately reach out to us. If you hit the contact button on veganprotein.com, 9 times out of 10 you'll get a video response from us, because we truly care. If you took the time to reach out, it means that there's something that we can probably do to support you and something that we could say. So reach out to us directly, hit us up on our socials, join our community, whatever you need, we are here to support you.
Okay, moving on to our question and answer segment. So recently I put a question out in my Instagram stories. I always ask for questions on Instagram stories. So if you're not following me, it's at Vegan Proteins on Instagram, saying hey guys, got any questions for the podcast? And one that popped up multiple times from multiple people was, where do you see yourselves in 5 years? And I thought maybe we could both answer it. I thought maybe that would be kind of fun.
Who goes first?
You.
Ooh, yeah. See, I already have an answer. Oh, gosh. I am definitely the one that needs to know exactly where I'll be in 5 years to manifest and make it happen, as opposed to I don't want to think about this right now because my feelings need to be elsewhere. I need to be focused on what's right in front of me. No, I'm a planner. Diehard planner. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Back on stage. I'm going to compete in about 5 years from now. Honestly, I'll be in the middle of a competition season. Ideally, I will have gotten bigger everywhere. I skimped out on training my glutes and my hamstrings because I had to build up my upper body, and there's only so much work that you could do. So I favored upper body work pretty heavily. So in 5 years, I'll see myself having a stronger lower body and an even stronger upper body, and I'll be dieting down even harder and having an even better frame. And ideally, I'll be much better at performing, because that was my weakest point this year, both in prep and during my season, was that I had the body, but I did not show it off the way that I should have. So a much better performer on stage. I'm perfectly comfortable out there, but much better at performing. Stronger lower body and even stronger upper body. Probably focusing on filling in the blanks in other areas that I missed out on. So that mainly. But outside of competing, I see myself more settled into this house that we bought about 1.5 years ago. Probably having a better gym. Hopefully having a bigger community and a bigger team to feel supported by and to support. And taking more vacations. I think we've taken like 2 or 3 vacations over the course of our work together and our relationship together, Day and I. And we've been doing this for like 15 years. So hopefully having not only having better boundaries, but an opportunity to have a better work-life balance, essentially. Yeah, those are some of the things I think about 5 years from now where I hope to see myself at in general. How about you?
I actually haven't thought that far ahead, to be honest. In 5 years, I'll be 41, so I'll be in my 40s, which is interesting. I think back to 5 years ago, shortly after I turned 30, where I thought I'd be now, and a lot of the things that I wanted to accomplish, we have accomplished, like buying this house, growing our business to the place where like it employs other people now, helping as many people as we do on a regular basis, systematizing so many of our coaching processes to make sure, nothing falls through the cracks. We have done that. Daisy had just been born. She wasn't even a year old 5 years ago, and I wanted to be the best auntie possible. This was not exactly what I saw in that vision, having them full time, but here we are. So 5 years from now, I think that's probably the biggest question mark is, will we or will we not have the kids more often than we don't? And that a lot hinges upon that. But regardless of that, I feel like in some of my pursuits for other things, I kind of have lost some of the oomph that I've had for taking care of my own self and my own personal goals. And I'd really like to get back to that, actually, starting now. So hopefully in 5 years, that will be very well established again. As far as competing goes, like, I have no idea. I'm still very back and forth of two minds about the whole competition situation in general. So I will continue to play that by ear, but basically continuing to grow a lot of the things that we have grown at this point and continuing to build, security for our family as we get older. And every time I think about the fact that, in 2 months, I'm going to be 37, that's insane to me because when we met, I was 22. And it's just weird. Like, guys, getting old with somebody is weird. It's really cool, but it's like really weird at the same time. And I'm sure anybody that's, been married or with somebody for a really long time completely understands. It's just like sometimes you look at each other and you still see the person from 15 years ago. And it's like, no, we're way older than we were then. But, I'm really proud of all the stuff that we have accomplished so far. Anyway, enough about us.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. Please stay in touch with us on socials at Muscles by Brussels, at Vegan Proteins, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, email, veganproteins.com. The contact button is right there, and we will get a response from one of us. I promise you that. Once again, my name is Giacomo.
And I'm Danny.
And we'll talk to you soon.
And don't forget to sign up for the goal setting workshop.
Do it.
In a couple weeks. We'll see you there. Bye.